Welcome to the second episode of the Lead Generation podcast. If you haven't watched the first one, go and watch it. It's on my YouTube. Today, we're going to be talking about some exciting things. We're going to be talking about skills in lead generation, scaling your business in lead generation, the biggest problems that a lot of businesses are facing, other problems apart from lead gen that other companies are facing also, the importance of the focus on sales, and some actionable tips, if you stay to the very end, that you can actually implement in your lead generation strategies to start getting some more clients straight away. So if we go into the first topic, and this is going to be what skills you should be leveraging to grow your business. So when I just first started in business, I thought it was some mysterious way to grow your business. I thought it was only by old guys in suits. However, you quickly learn that there's a few key skills which you need to develop to actually grow a successful business. And these are sales and marketing. Those are the most important skills that you need to learn if you're going to grow a business. Now, it's really important to note that every skill is sort of slightly different. And what I mean by that is when I first started learning skills in university and through my career, which was engineering, I was doing really high level skills and learning, really high level sort of technical knowledge, but the application of it in the real world didn't have much monetary value attributed to it. And that's something that I struggle with. So the way to get around that was learning sales and marketing, which have direct impacts on other businesses and help them grow. And if you're looking to make a business that will make a lot of money, these are the two key skills which you need to learn and focus on to develop. So as the landscape of sales is changing now, one of the biggest problems that I'm seeing a lot of business face is their email deliverability. And this is a skill that's especially important in lead generation going into 2024. So many businesses are still sending emails from their primary domain and overlooking all these deliverability things that you need to have in place to have a successful campaign. So one of our clients that we recently started working with, before they started working with us, they were having 12, 14% open rates on their email campaigns, which, as everyone knows, is just awful. It's really low. And the problem wasn't their script, wasn't their subject line. Their whole sales message was really good. But the problem was that they weren't investing in learning into their deliverability. And this is going to be a problem that a lot of businesses are facing moving into 2024. If you're running cold email campaigns or sales campaigns, you need to ensure that your deliverability is set up correctly. And this is another skill that you need to learn, another high income skill. And if you've seen anything that's been happening lately in terms of what Google was saying, they've done an announcement on Outreach saying that if you have more than a 0.3% spam rate on your emails, your organization will actually get banned from sending cold emails. Now, it's a very bold statement. They backtracked from that slightly now, but it just shows the importance of having emails set up correctly so that you're not landing in the spam folder and you can actually send at a high volume and send enough emails to actually generate enough sales calls to grow your business. So one of the main things that we're doing now and the skills that we have developed in email deliverability is actually using Cloudflare to purchase our domains. Instead of GoDaddy or Squarespace, Cloudflare is actually much better to host your domains on and will help your deliverability. And then setting up your DNS settings such as your DMARC, DKIM and your SPF records. These need to be set up in a certain way so that when you start running your email campaigns, your emails won't be landing in the spam folder. Another key thing to do is to warm up for at least 2 weeks your new emails. So when you purchased your new domains and your new email accounts, don't just want to be starting sending emails from them straight away, otherwise it will go to spam folder because the ESPs like Google and Outlook will recognize that it's a brand new account, much like if you had a brand new LinkedIn account and you started sending loads of connections and loads of messages from it, you'd likely get that account banned. So what you need to do is hook it up to a platform like Instantly or SmartLead, which are the two sort of leading softwares at the moment, and warm your email accounts up for a minimum of 14 days. We typically recommend 3 to 4 weeks if your needs can actually allow for that. I know we're going into sort of the Christmas holiday period now, so it'd be a fantastic time to purchase the domains, purchase some email accounts and get them on warm up so that by the time New Year rolls around, you can actually attack your email campaigns with maximum volume, but with nice warm email accounts that won't be going to the spam folder. So that's a skill that I highly recommend everyone in lead generation and everyone even in sales in general starts developing. It's that email deliverability and ensuring that whatever platforms you're using, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, email, that you're adhering by the rules and you're ensuring that your accounts won't get banned, because this is only going to set you back massively. So that's a really important thing, especially going into 2024. Now, that's what goes into my next point, and that's that you need to constantly be developing your skills. It's not just a one-time thing, and I learnt this myself, where for the first 3 months of my business, I really dived into learning sales and marketing. I was doing courses pretty much every day. I spent at least 3 hours every single day doing hard, deep work of just research in sales and marketing, developing my skills. But it got to a point where after I had sort of picked it up and I'd learned what I thought there was to learn, I started applying it, which was fantastic, but I wasn't continually learning new stuff. So it got about 3 months down the line and all the stuff that I'd learned was still applicable, but some of it was getting a bit out of date and there was new best practices. And this is especially important in the email world. So where we send so many cold emails, as I've just been mentioning, you need to be adhering to the latest announcements from Google, Outlook, and all the ESPs. Otherwise, you risk your emails going to spam. You risk, not getting any responses. So it's really, really important to continue to develop your skills constantly, and especially if you're using AI in your business. Now, if you've seen the recent announcement from OpenAI of ChatGPT 4, there's new ways which you can use it, which can completely boost your business. Right, save you loads of time on admin. Connect it up to all sorts of different applications through its API, which wasn't previously possible before. So to constantly be on the ball and constantly be researching and learning new skills is really, really important for your business development and your self-development. So I believe Alex Hormozi actually says, when you're learning, it's the behavioural change that indicates that you've learned something, not the way you think. So what he means by this is, say you've the same situation 2 times. For you to have learned something from the first one, you have to behave differently in the second situation. So it's no good just thinking differently about the situation but still acting the same. It's actually the behaviour that shows that you've learned something. So that means you constantly need to apply what you've learned. And this is really important once again in the sales and marketing world. As the sort of common practices and the best practices are changing all the time, you constantly need to be putting out new content, new ways of doing your sales, different scripts, different methods, and testing different sequences. And that way you'll find out in real time what's working the best and get the most success in your sales campaigns. So if you're looking to scale your business, there's 2 things that you definitely need to avoid. Now, the first one is a mistake that we actually made, and this was actually scaling too quickly. So when you're starting your business, it's fantastic. When you're onboarding clients, obviously you're sending invoices, you're getting paid. It's a great feeling. However, you need to build a really solid foundation so you can sustain this growth. Now, it's really easy to overlook this, especially in the early days of your business. So we saw a lot of success very early on, and we didn't lay down the necessary foundations to continue to sustain the growth as we went on. So what I mean by this is just being myself, not a very big team, and I didn't really have the infrastructure in place to handle, an extra 5 clients a month consistently, because your number of clients you've always got at any given time is going to continue to grow. That's of course way more work, way more communication with clients. So your work doesn't just double, it will triple or quadruple because of all the added variables that you're not considering as well. So it's really important to set the foundations before you actually start scaling. Scaling, I think, is actually quite easy for most B2B businesses. Usually there's just a problem of you don't have enough sales or you don't have enough calls booked, which in our opinion is a really, really easy problem to solve. Now, especially with the right, setup of email campaigns, the right setup of LinkedIn campaigns, the right scripts, which you can be testing, it's really easy to be booking calls with quite a quick turnaround. But what I think is more difficult is building up a successful foundation to grow a long-lasting, successful business. So this is really a focus of ours, and I would recommend it as a focus to anyone in the lead generation or any B2B business space, is you need to make sure you have that foundation in place. We've seen this with our clients as well. When you run a really successful sales campaign, you may actually get too much business for your clients to the point where they can't handle it. And that's also, a negative thing. It's also a problem. You might think it's a good problem to have, but it actually might not be, where you bring on so many clients that you can damage, your business's reputation by not being able to serve them all, potentially give out refunds and stuff like that. So it's really, really important that you scale in a timely manner and a structured way, rather than just throwing as much stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks with clients and trying to get as many clients on in a short time frame as possible, because ultimately your churn will just be through the roof. And churn is obviously based off how many clients are leaving in a given time period. So as everyone knows, it's no good gaining an extra 5 clients a month if you're also losing an extra 5 clients a month because you can't service them all. So the focus with scaling should always be on retention. And that's how you build up a really successful business with high monthly recurring revenue. Is you always need to be retaining your current clients for as long as possible, developing relationships with them, constantly providing results, potentially upselling them as well, which is much harder with brand new clients. You only get that after you've worked with a client for a certain amount of time. So that's what I'd definitely say about scaling, and it's a lesson that we've learned, is try not to scale too quickly. It's so easy to do because obviously you want that gratification straight away, you want a 7-figure business straight away, but it's not going to happen overnight. And for those who it does happen to overnight, it's probably not going to last. Right? So you need to make sure that the foundations are set in place for you to actually grow a successful, long-term, sustainable business. The second problem that we've actually seen with scaling businesses is your appetite for risk seems to go down. So as your business is growing and you've got more clients on, obviously you're in a good position and you don't really want to take many more risks. Now, this can actually be detrimental to the scale of your business because you need to take risks to scale. So what I mean by this is hiring and investing in the right people and the right tools, which is going to be expensive. It's going to hurt your margins for a bit, it's going to hurt your cash flow for a bit, and it is a risk, but you've got to always think of the long-term picture. And problems that I've seen with businesses scaling is they're not thinking about the long-term picture, and they're just thinking about their cash flow or their margins at this current month, as opposed to month 12 or month 18 or month 24. And that's what you need to be focusing on. So it's not always about here and now, although of course it's always important for your business to be cash flow positive and always be making money. But if you're in the position to invest in the right people, the right tools, the right infrastructure for long-term sustained growth, then that will help you scale so much easier in the long term. Scaling is usually a bit like an exponential curve, if you've ever seen one. It starts off really slow, so you make really small incremental steps, and then all of a sudden it looks like it's just taken off. But what it actually is that's just 5% every year or every month, and it just accumulates, because that 5% in month 12 is actually an extra 5% on all the other 5%. So you get there very quickly, but that's only by investing in the right tools, the right people, as early on as you can. So people will just, I've seen business owners become quite risk averse as they start to grow. But I think always having some sort of appetite for risk to basically make your situation in the future better as opposed to your situation now is really, really important for scaling. So always think long term and always think about what's going to get you the best results in the future. This actually comes from a book that I recently read called Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he analysed, I think it was 11 businesses that had really, really successful runs. They were defined as great businesses where they had just basically exploded, had massive increases in market share and were running really, really successfully. And there was common themes amongst all of them, and they all had this exponential-like curve of growth for their business. Now, what it shows is that they were doing the same things, investing in the right tools, investing in the right people, but doing it over and over and over again. And what it looked like is all of these businesses just had one point where they'd just taken off and they'd done one thing and it'd just make their growth go through the roof. But in reality, what it actually was it was accumulation of all the things they had done early on. So laying down the foundations, getting the right people on, investing in the right team, investing in the right tools. And over a long enough time frame of all of this working together, it had hit a point where the growth had just started to skyrocket. And that is what will happen with every business. If you set the foundations right and you set those initial start points, initial conditions right, and you continue to just grow on it, scaling will become much easier in the future. So that's the biggest thing that I've learned and we've learned in our business in terms of scaling. Always think about the future as opposed to the now. And I think that will really help everyone listening. So I've spoke to thousands of business owners over the course of the last year, and we've been working with tens of businesses, growing them, helping their lead generation, and making sure they're making more sales. And there's some common themes that we've noticed that a lot of businesses are struggling with their lead generation. And I can almost guarantee if you're not investing into your lead generation, you're probably struggling with these too. And the biggest problems in lead generation right now is email deliverability, as I mentioned early on in this video, and actually understanding conversion cycles. So going back to email deliverability, it's a huge issue because so many businesses are still sending emails from their main domain, sending sales emails from their work domain, and it's only going to harm the reputation of that main domain. When your emails start going to spam, that's it, it's basically over for your email campaigns. You won't be able to make any conversions because all the opens you are get is people open it from your spam folder, which they're just not going to trust. No one's going to trust that at all. So that's one of the biggest problems that we're seeing a lot of businesses face at the moment, is they're just not getting this technical setup right. So I've actually got a document, and we'll include it in the link to this video, that has a step-by-step guide of how you can set everything up to make sure that your emails are being delivered with 70 to 80% open rates in your email campaigns. It's a very easy setup, and what we typically do is we purchase our domains on Cloudflare. What we do is then we set up a 50-50 split between Gmail inboxes and Outlook inboxes. So for example, if we purchase 10 domains on Cloudflare, we'll set up 5 domains with email accounts on Gmail and 5 domains with email accounts on Outlook, just to spread the risk. From there, you want to set up your DNS records. This is really easy to do, and it's just a 5-10 minute Google search if you're not sure how to do it. It's setting up SPF, DKIM and DMARC records, and then making sure you're actually testing these and validating these with a website like MX Toolbox, where you can put in your domain that you've just bought and it will tell you what the DNS records for that domain are and if you set them up correctly. So if you haven't, you can go back and make some adjustments. From there, you want to set it up to a tool like SmartLead. We recommend SmartLead just because it blows every tool out of the water, in our opinion. It's the best email sort of deliverability and best email sending software that we've used. And we're currently sending over 100,000 emails a month across all of our clients, and it does it with ease. So it's a really, really great tool. Now, what you need to make sure to do is not send over 30 to 40 emails a day per account. So say you've got those 10 domains that you've just set up, you might set up 20 email accounts, 2 of each, which is what we recommend, but you need to make sure you're not sending 30 or 40 emails per account. This is the biggest problem we see at the moment. A lot of companies that we speak to, and you may be doing this, where you set your email campaigns up on Apollo or Instantly or a different sending software, and you might be sending 100, 200, hopefully not 300 emails a day, and you're wondering why no one's opening them. You're just sending too many. Now, volume, of course, is really, really important for any sales campaign, be it cold calling, LinkedIn, emails. You need to be doing a lot of it to see good results, but there's a certain way you do it with email, and that's by spreading it across multiple domains and multiple accounts. So say you want to have an engine where you can be sending 800 emails every single day, spreading it across 20 email accounts. You only need to send 40 emails per account per day, which will really help you stay in the inbox, achieve that sending volume, and achieve those really high open rates, which you want to gain. So that's the biggest problem at the moment, is the email deliverability aspect. I talk quite a lot about this on my LinkedIn, so you can follow me on LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn if you're interested in that. But the second problem that I see all the time is businesses not understanding conversion cycles. Now, what a conversion cycle is it's the time taken between your initial touch point with someone and when they actually make the sale. So don't get me wrong, of course there'll always be sort of the bottom 10% of the market that always need your product or your service right now, and they'll convert like that, right? You could say basically whatever you wanted to them and they're just going to buy it. Now, obviously not all the market is like this, but that's why it's thought of the bottom 10% who are really in need of some sort of product or service that you provide, and they'll convert straight away. But the majority of your clients will be between, 80% of the market will be between, it might be a week or 3 months before they will actually buy. Now, this is what we determine as the conversion cycle. And there's things that we do in our conversion cycle to maximize the results of it. The number one thing being content. So the more someone sees of you, the more likely they'll be able to trust you, and the more likely they'll actually buy from you. So it's really, really, really important if you're running LinkedIn, email, or even cold call campaigns to get some sort of connection with your prospects, as in if it's a connection on LinkedIn, that's fantastic, or at least have multiple touch points with them. You don't just want to try and make that first initial sale. They say they're not ready right now, or no, not interested, and then you just leave it forever, because you're missing out on a huge amount of the market. A lot of the market, I think it's something like 97% of the market isn't ready to buy right now. So for that other 97% that aren't ready to buy right now, you need to nurture them with content, copy that you can be sending them, newsletters, sharing knowledge, sharing value. And once you've been sending out enough content like that, it determines how long someone will take to convert. And that's your conversion cycle. It's how long it takes from someone to first come across you, or receive an email, or receive a message or a call from you, and then that point in which they buy the product or service. And I think a lot of businesses just want transactions straight away, which of course everyone wants to make sales straight away. But you need to understand that things take time. And the more you invest in these leads that actually take a longer time to convert, the more money you'll make. Oftentimes these are really, really good clients because they're just not jumping ship to everyone. They need to be on a certain level of trust with someone. So say someone's sort of trust threshold is up here, and that first initial email or call you send is down here. You've got a lot of work to do, and that's just going to be from content, continually providing them value, continually popping up in their feed and showing them that you really can do what you say you can do. So that's something that we've noticed. I think a lot of companies overlook it. They just go for the direct conversion straight away, as opposed to spending time with the right prospects and waiting for that conversion cycle to kick in so they can actually convert them at the right time. Now, most businesses actually suffer from a wide range of problems that aren't just sales. So sales is probably the number one problem in most businesses. However, it's not always just a lead generation problem. So you may be thinking, if I had an extra 20 calls in my calendar next month, my business would be booming. It'd be growing like a huge rate. But a lot of businesses actually overlook some other crucial aspects. For example, what your show up rate is. Now, this is something that is quite a small metric and not many people track it, but it's something that really is honestly overlooked by so many businesses. And the reason it's so important is it's no good booking an extra 20 or 30 calls a month if no one's showing up to them. This is something that can be really easily fixed, but it's not necessarily a lead generation problem. It's more of a sort of follow-up and nurture problem to get prospects to actually show up to calls. What we've done to actually increase our show rate significantly is we use a scheduling platform called Calendly. So this is where our prospects will go in, put in their details, put in their name, put in their email, put in their phone number, and book a time to talk with us. You can actually see our Calendly link down in the description below if you want to book a time to talk with me about your client acquisition. But anyway, people will book calls, and typically most businesses just won't send them any sort of material and won't follow up with them at all until they turn up to the call. Now, if you do this, you might have a 50% show rate. Say you book 10 calls, around 5 of them might show if you don't give them any sort of confirmation or any acknowledgement or any reminders before the call. But what we've actually implemented, and it's really easy to do this with Calendly, is to do a sequence of follow-ups. So we'll follow up with the lead 24 hours before the call, 1 hour before the call, and 10 minutes before the call on both email and text, right? And this has basically taken our show rate from about 50% to 85 to 90%, which has made a huge difference to our sales of our business. As you can imagine, it's basically almost doubled the sales of our business by just making this really small tweak with what we use to schedule our calls. Now, another massive thing which has actually really helped our conversion rates in calls as well is by sending case studies before someone joins a call. Once they booked a call, to the time they actually hop on the call is usually a few days elapses. It may even be a week, depending on when people's availability is. But during that time, you don't just want to completely forget about them. This is your chance to actually build trust and give them something to talk about in the call, right? So what you want to do is be sending over case studies. You want to be sending over previous results. You want to be sending over information, value, the agenda of the call, anything that's just going to help warm them up, bring them up to speed with everything that you're going to be discussing. This will significantly increase your conversion rates, and it's something that we put in place and it's made a huge difference. The second big problem faced by companies that isn't just lead generation but directly correlates to lead generation is actually your retention and your churn rate. So a lead generation problem will obviously get rid of the need for more sales, but what it won't get rid of is how many of your clients are actually leaving you. So for example, say you want to build up a business of $1 million a year annual revenue, and your average client is worth, say, $8,000 a month, right? You only need 10 of those clients to build up roughly a $1 million a year business. So instead of just trying to get new clients on every single month, knowing that the other ones are leaving, what you could do is just slowly build it up and just say you've got 5 clients on. You only need an extra 5 across a span of a few months, as long as you've kept your original clients. The reason that retention is so important is it usually costs so much more to get a new client on than to keep one of your current clients. So the cost of acquisition is much higher than the cost of retention. And this is really key for long-term success. So if you're constantly losing your clients are churning, your retention's really poor, it's going to be really hard to build a successful, sustainable, long-term business. And ultimately, lead generation is not going to solve your problem of retention. The only thing that will solve your problem of retention primarily is your product or your service. Making that better, constantly doing user feedback forms, constantly talking to your clients, better communication, all of these things are going to significantly improve your retention. And the reason that it correlates so much to lead generation is as soon as you have higher retention, your clients obviously value your product and your service more, which means you can create more case studies from it. All right, which I'm going to get onto in a little bit, just talk about the value of the case studies. But the better your service, the better your product, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to market, because if it works for other people, people love to relate to others. If it works for someone else, they'll most likely try it. So some of the best form of marketing can actually be word of mouth, and you're only going to get this from high levels of retention, working on your service, working on your product, and that's really going to help you for long-term growth. So this is what we're really focusing on at the moment, is just product. How can we make our service much better? And the third problem that we always see that links to lead generation but isn't directly lead generation is the branding or social presence of the company that we're working with. So for example, we've had it before where we've had clients and they've basically got no website, or they've got a website that they built themselves in 10 minutes. And what's going to happen is when you're sending emails out or sending LinkedIn messages out, people are going to check you out. They're going to see, this person's obviously messaged me, trying to sell me something. Should I trust them? And usually the first thing they'll do is either go on their website or their LinkedIn. If this isn't properly optimized, you significantly reduce your chances of making a sale. So if your website looks like it's just been built by a 10-year-old in 5 minutes, which our sort of does at the moment, which is why we're investing into our branding, then your conversion rate is going to be significantly lower. I was speaking to another expert in lead generation lately, and they said they had 2 clients that were in the same sort of field, same sort of service, and very comparable. But one had a website that they invested a lot of money into, and one had just a very average website. And the results of the email campaigns were vastly different. The one with the significantly better website actually got 4 times better results and 4 times more sales from their email campaigns. Now, the scripts were roughly the same. Everything was roughly the same for the email. So why was it such a big difference? It's because people go onto your website and go onto your LinkedIn and they automatically get a feel for what you're about, what your level of quality is, what your level of service is. People always have sort of stereotypes and prejudice towards your social presence. So if you've got a very strong social presence, everything's optimized on your website and your LinkedIn, you'll find it much easier making sales. So this is usually something that we recommend to all of our clients, is to increase their level of online presence, increase their branding, invest in their website, invest in making their LinkedIn better, and you'll actually see your lead generation campaigns perform way better. One of the most important things to actually grow your business is, of course, sales. So sales is like the oxygen of your business. Without sales, your business dies. It's always key to have a sales engine running at all given times of your business, whether your retention is high or whether your retention is low. Even if you've got a steady stream of clients that want to continue to work with you, it's really, really important to always have more engagement, right? And more engagement with potential clients and your prospects. This is because market shifts change. Potentially, you can be growing and investing into people at your business. You can be bringing on employees. There's always going to be external factors that you can't sort of change. So to always have a sales engine running and always have new customers wanting to work with you is really important for the growth of your business. And I'd say it's probably one of the key things that every business needs to focus on, is having a sales engine in place all the time. Because especially with businesses that we've spoke to on sales calls, we hear it time and time again, where business has a really, really successful stretch of sales or a really great sales campaign across a few months, gets loads of clients on, and then they switch completely. They turn off all their sales, they just switch completely to retaining those clients, which of course is really important. You need to do that. But without having some sort of sales engine and some sort of outbound sales always running, you get to a point where you're completing the campaigns for your current clients, and naturally the way the markets move and the way businesses work, there'll be peaks and troughs. So your clients might have quiet periods. They may not need you anymore, right? Or they may not need you as much as they did before. And this is something that you have to consider. So instead of just putting all of your eggs in the baskets of your current clients and hoping they'll keep you busy, you need to always have that sales engine running in the background. Otherwise, you'll just be really busy for one point in time, realize that all your clients have got what they need from you, and then you'll be back to square one again with no clients. Obviously, you would have built up some fantastic case studies that you can use, but without the constant sales engine running and without constant outbound campaigns running, you're going to struggle to grow a long-term sustainable business. It's just one of the fundamentals that you need to have in place. So some campaigns that we always have running and we recommend for every client is to always have LinkedIn campaigns running. That's increasing your network, sending out messages to those in your network as well as in mails to potential prospects, and always putting content out. So content's a really underrated way of growing your LinkedIn and nurturing all of those in your network on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is slightly different to email, as everyone knows, because as you have someone in your network, as they accept your connection request, they're constantly going to see your content, which is always a chance to convert them or always a chance to get them on a call, right? Or exchange value with them. So you want to build up your network continuously throughout the year without stopping that. Another campaign that we always have running is actually our email campaigns. Now we can change the volume of these, and this is what is great about email. So instead of sending 1,000 emails a day during a really aggressive sales period, when we're very busy and we don't want to be sending as many, we can reduce this to say 200 or 300 emails a day, and you'll be getting a fifth or a third of the responses. So it's really nice to be able to control that based on the inputs that you're putting in. But it's always worth having a sales engine running at all times for your business, because you always want a steady stream of new leads so you can forecast, you can invest in the right tools and the right people and make sure that you're growing long term. So there's one thing that you can use in your sales scripts and your sales calls to actually dramatically increase your conversion rates. We've noticed this time and time again. And if I would say there's one thing to work on in your sales process that will just make the biggest difference, the biggest lever that you can pull to increase your sales rates, increase your conversion rates, it's going to be one thing. And that one thing is building fantastic case studies and building fantastic testimonials. Now, this isn't some sort of nuanced thing that you can do in a sales call, for example. I know a lot of people talking about using silence or being very confident in sales calls, using your charisma, which is fantastic and it's really, really important. I would definitely pull those levers as well. But the biggest thing that's going to gain someone's trust, because ultimately that is the biggest barrier that you need to overcome, is showing that you've done something similar for someone like them. So the more case studies that you can build up with your service, with your product, it's going to make it so much easier to make sales. Now, this is definitely the biggest sort of lever that you can pull in terms of your sales, and it actually relates more back to your product and service. If you have a great product, a great service, it makes sales so much easier. You believe in it more. And we've seen this time and time again working with other types of businesses, is where someone has a fantastic service and a fantastic product and the team truly believes in it, their sales performance is always better than like an average or mediocre type service or product. So taking the time to invest in your service and product will make your sales fundamentally better. It will make it so much better. Now, ways that you can actually leverage your case studies is as soon as someone books a call, you can send them case studies, right? Because usually this is one of the biggest objections that a lot of business owners face in their call is, once again, to overcome the trust, is to say, oh, have you done this for someone before? Or they say, you know, at the end of the call, they say, oh yeah, that sounds fantastic. Can you send me an email with your case studies on, or, you know, some references? Before actually coming to that point in the call, you want to have already overcome the objection. So prevention is actually better than cure. You don't want to have to stumble around and try and find some case study that someone's emailed you at one time where they've written a testimonial to try and show them that. You want to have it structured in place. As soon as someone books a call, you can share case studies with them. This automatically builds trust, give them something to speak about in the call, and then if they bring it up in the call, you can obviously refer them back to the point that the fact that they've watched that case study or that you have them available. So something that we've done is actually create a YouTube video on one of our case studies, and this worked really well to actually build trust with our prospects. And it's something that we do for our clients as well. Wherever we can leverage social proof, case studies, we do it as much as possible. So if you know a guy called Cold Email Wizard, Dan Fazio, so he basically says that in every cold email or any sales message, it's broken down into about 3 main points. So it's your offer, your guarantee, and your case studies. And it's about 10% of it is on your offer, 10% of it's on your guarantee, and about 80% is on your case studies. And it's so true. We actually recently ran a back-to-back campaign where we had exactly the same script targeting the same prospects. We just had one sort of email with a link of our case study in and one email without the link of our case study in. And just the fact having the case study in honestly doubled or tripled the response rates. People were so much more accepting of it because they've seen that we've actually done the work, right? And this is just the biggest objection to overcome. So the more that you can utilize your case studies and your previous projects, it's going to make sales so much easier. And in my opinion, it's the biggest lever that you can pull to get the greatest results in your sales. So that wraps it up for the second episode of the Lead Generation Podcast. I'll see everyone next week for the next one. In the meantime, if you're looking to grow your business, grow your online business, then get in touch with me, book a call below, and we can discuss some channels such as email, LinkedIn, and content to grow your business, acquire new clients, and take it to the next level. So thanks for watching this one.